is actually the video. There's
Yeah.
Don.
So pick the down arrow there. Or this. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. The top one. See what? Yep.
BC.
Oh, you might want to turn up your background.
I like that background.
Well, if
don't you think that's like a
Yeah, it
coffee
is.
hour
Right.
background?
If you want to show
my
the
favorite.
whole crowd, then.
Yeah, oh, we do want to show
Yep.
the whole crowd. Okay, so I just take that off. Choose video settings. And maybe that wasn't the right one. Choose video filter. Choose virtual background. None.
Yeah, there we go. So
Oh my gosh, is that cool?
now,
That is so fantastic.
just so I'll show you. So go to the mic here.
Okay, Mike, got it.
So if you go to the right now, since you are going to be talking, you obviously want to keep it on yours.
Yes.
If you decide to switch it to where everyone else
Can be heard.
can be heard, you're gonna want to switch it to that one.
The end echo.
Correct.
Okay, but
And or you can just say they'll ask the question and then you can repeat it
so,
perhaps. and
so
then,
right now it's on their microphone.
nope, it's on your mic.
I just moved it.
Oh, then you can just switch it back if you have to.
But what I'm saying is, would I not be able to be heard
You
because it,
probably will be.
yeah, so
because
why
that-
don't we try that?
Because I was already like over in there. I connected with my phone just so I could see.
Yeah,
I could hear Quinn back there because this mic is for like a 20-foot radius or something or other. So yeah.
try to center in if you can, because you'll be visible to your Zoom friends.
All right. So you're good to go?
Thank you, Don. You made it far too easy. And microphones are all done. Not work. Oh. Yeah, but it's part of the technology. Yeah, but we know that.
You know what, Jerry? I'm afraid someone's gonna walk through there. You think I should put an extension cord just there on the floor?
No, I can speak with
People will say, okay, well, okay, good. I'm on it.
somebody there.
Well, I was hoping that Dan was coming. I saved me a seat, but
Well, I'll save one for you.
No, I just.
We're here. Yeah.
Barbara. Barbara, do you want that? Hi.
So we are using I have my so we've gotten out the audience. You like that? You might even surprise that. Can you hear? A little bit. Sure, where we ever don't adjust this.
Good morning, Tony.
Dennis is waving to everybody. He and Judy are live. What do you think, Dennis? Are you surprised to see the audience?
No, not at all, but I won't be there.
Hey, we are just happy that we have this large screen to help us do that. To me, that was an extra bonus. Okay, this is not best. Hey, it's 9:31. Coffee hour has begun. And usually it is so noisy. Usually it's so much conversation going on that I really have to say, we're ready, we're ready. Now, in the past, I had two people, Kathy Reichert. I do, the mic is on, you don't hear, huh? So we got to figure out, Teresa, if there is an adjustment area.
Lisa said she was gonna set it up.
Well, she did. She set it up, but I mean, Lisa, is there a place to turn it up a little bit? Or it's supposed to adjust by itself?
Right, there's no, well, I can set it up.
So Dennis, here's a good example. We have our speakers that seem to be adequate in parts of the dining room, but over here on my right, it's okay. It's okay? Okay, it seems to be getting better. I'm probably talking louder. Randy. Barely. Yeah, not a good enough. It may be we need another speaker in the ceiling. There's one here and there's one here. Anyway, I was going to say, are there any volunteers that would like to be our roamers? If Kathy Reichert has done it in the past, Mary, you might have even done it. There we go. You'll have to turn them on. It'll take a few seconds. So this is exciting. You know, I got to thinking last night, I remember how this equipment is now being used 3 times a week for exercise. And it obviously produces, you know, that you could have your exercise video, but it's also capable, as you know, from some of the art talks, the speaker can hook up their laptop and do a presentation. It can connect to the internet. So it's an all-in-one excellent resource. So why not use it in the coffee hour? So our friends on Zoom can see you, although I didn't think it had a camera. So I texted Judy and said, is it possible that we have a camera in that I don't know about? And she said, no, it doesn't have a camera. But recently a camera was purchased by the Creative Arts Department to use in the training conference room. She said we could use that. So I don't know where that camera is, but it's obviously here. Oh, I see it. It's down here. A little device below the screen, capturing all of you. So it is going to work 2 ways. Those that are on Zoom, wave if you think so far this is working well. Come on, Tony, you could wave. We're watching you. So you can see there is 2 ways. We are going to make this work, right? This is probably the smallest coffee hour we've ever had, but it's the largest coffee hour we've ever had in 2 years. It's a great start. And you got fresh coffee. How about those are tea drinkers? You got your tea? All right. It's just great to have you back. How many have never been to a coffee hour? Ever? All right. Fantastic to have you come, Janet. George, you've been waiting for this. He's not sure. He has no idea what a coffee hour is. He's just been waiting for what was Kendall like before he moved in that I'm supposed to discover. Well, this is the beginning. But this is different for everybody because we're accustomed to being in Langston. And you get used to things, right? You go over and get your coffee. I know some of you have said, I like going over to get my own coffee. I like going over and getting my combination of favorite cold drinks. People mix things up a little. We know those are the things that have been all part of your dining experience. And we are going to try to figure this out because you've given phenomenal feedback. So far, Benjamin is on screen or possibly here, or maybe sleeping in. Can't blame her. And I know there'll be meetings in the future bringing back the results of that survey. I was blown away by the numbers that responded. I figured 73%. Think about that, 73% to any survey. Wouldn't a marketing specialist be over the top if they could guarantee an organization feedback from 73% of who they serve? And a lot of written comments. So I'm excited that this is moving forward. We'll be able to use that content to sort out what's going to be best to reflect Kendall's success. So thank you. How many people filled that out? Look at that. You know, you have to be 100%. And on screen, were you raising your hand? There you go. See, this is 2-way. So more to come on that. Dining Matters is doing a phenomenal job to sort through that data, think it through, and then be able to bring it back. So I'm just so happy there was so much response from everyone. So this meeting is your agenda. I always bring a few things. Staff always have a few things, but this is your meeting. So we are open to hearing what's on your mind and how we can help you have a great day or a great start of the day. Anybody want to start? We've got microphones roaming. All right, right off the bat, Larry.
I know you're talking about Dining Matters. The survey has been done.
You're good. You're good.
Survey has been done. And I really don't want to address the longer term things, but I'd like to talk a little bit about short term dining issues. And let me start by first saying that I think it's absolutely remarkable that we've been fed throughout. No matter what the difficulties. And the food in my estimation is most of the time really quite remarkable. So we really need to thank people for that, and I know how hard the staff is working. But it still is not a very pleasant experience to dine right now. And I know we're talking about long-term solutions, but I wanted to ask a question that's been on my mind for a long time. The cafeteria line in Langston, I thought worked very well. We have a piece of it here and with a salad bar. We have a staff shortage. Why is it not possible to go back, people going through the line, picking what they want to eat, how much they want to eat, where they want to sit, and in the short term, meanwhile, I know we're looking for longer term solutions, but in the short term, this business is lining up to come in here and wait for somebody to go get something in the kitchen when you could just go get it yourself. It's so much easier. You wouldn't need the staff. What's the rationale behind that? What's the thinking behind that?
Well, first of all, and I feel like I don't want to get into that data, all your responses, because I'm starting to deliver something that really is owned by our Dining Matters. But I will say there were plenty of comments about not being able to stand in line. The fact you are standing in line here to get your meals, and there's been a lot of comments on that, mostly how fast and efficient it's worked. That's what I'm hearing, which is good because it is an interim need. To have you pick up your food is not at all palatable to me. The fact you're having to pick up your food. That is a short-term arrangement, obviously, until we can get our staff rehired. We want to return you to dining in. Now, you will always be able to take your food out. People who do and always have probably will continue to do that. And people explain a lot why they're eating at home. Some of it because they like to doctor it up their own way, or eat at their own time preferences, or they just like their alone time. I mean, it's a variety. This is why the survey content is so good. It's a full range. So Larry, not everybody thinks the same way. I'm going to just tell you. Okay, clarify a little bit. Okay, and then I want to go back to the interim.
Sure, I understand. I'm not talking about takeout. I understand the reason for that. We do it sometimes, but the dining experience is a very important social event for many people. It's where we meet our neighbors and our friends. And we've missed that a lot.
Right.
And I'm talking about not, when we talked about switching the dining rooms, the thought I had, and I thought was explained, was that since most people like informal dining, it would be in a larger facility. Informal dining doesn't mean waiting service, in my view. I find waiting service not helpful. I can't pick what I want. I can't pick how much I want. Every portion is the same. Some people like to eat more, some people like to eat less. Some people like 2 of this, none of that, 1 of this. The line, you get it. When you have to sit down in service, you don't see what you're getting. When I have any choice over the, when I have any choice over the, thank you very much. Any choice over what you pick. And it's that kind of thing. I'm not talking about takeout. That's a different issue. I'm talking about being able to have the kind of friendly, relaxed, informal dining that used to take place in Langston that seems to be gone.
I really believe that informal, easy to pick your own who you're going to dine with spontaneously, because that's really what the Langston represented. That will return. I just feel confident that that's going to return. How we exactly achieve that between these two spaces, I think is yet still to be worked out. But I think that message came through loud and clear that for the most part, you'd like to come in and join a table. Whether someone's halfway through their meal or not, if they say, come sit with us, it's come through very clearly, you value that. I think there are a number of other things that came through that I think are loud and clear. I just talk about the survey because this is really their project. But those things, ease of who we eat with, not
not having it be formal, we'll have to define what formal means, has come through as being very highly valued. Also, the opportunity to have, few people, I think we've got to achieve every occasion, but I think we will have something that meets the majority of our residents' preferences based on the feedback I have seen. It was so solid what was coming up as quality food, well cooked. Now that can be defined differently by different people, but it was so much of the same message. We have to transpose that. What does that mean for Kendall's dining? And that will happen. We will use the consultation with this, what I call excellent data, to say, now define that for these spaces we have available. How the food is presented, how it is delivered, picked up, whatever. You've delivered what we need to really shape this for today and into the future. Just trust me. The data is here. So no, I haven't shared too much from really what I think is a lot more content. But it's gonna come. It's gonna come. So other topics. And you can be on dining. I'm just, offering it. Dina. And it's not quite on yet. We'll test it. Sometimes the batteries, which haven't been properly used in a while, still not coming through. You test it, Mary.
Yeah, I have a very loud.
No, you need that microphone.
I just want to put a plug in for WKAO. I know a lot of, all you people here probably know, maybe the people out there don't. You go on the Kendall resident website, and on the top, there's a little line with all kinds of names on it. And the second one from the left is WKAO. And you click on it, and lo and behold, you get the day's news, events, the menus most of the time. And you don't have to sit in front of your television in 5 minutes waiting for the stupid thing to scroll through. You can just click, 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 and read it at your own pace. So please, we spend a lot of time at WKAO putting that up, and we really want you to read it. Thank you.
So Dina, I'm going to add a comment because it was during the pandemic. I was having a conversation with Maggie Stark, and she was telling me that Molly, who does all of our blogs, has often bought something from the resale shop that was promoted on channel KAO TV. And I said, what? How did she ever know what was here? I mean, Molly's remote. And that's when I learned I did not have to go out at the front of the reception desk and wait for 10 minutes. But I could get this immediately. So even during the pandemic, that was a discovery. I would have probably never, ever known. Thank you for the work you all do. Yeah, really, we owe them a lot of appreciation. You're next. Is that working?
Well, I haven't said anything. Well, the green light is on. Green light, but no sound, right?
All right, we're,
Speak loudly also.
no, we know our rule is use the microphone.
Okay, wow, that's different. I wanted to make an announcement about something else, but first I do want to thank WKAO. Not only do they promote fabulous finds, which we began when the KRS first opened and nobody knew we were open. And so I got this idea, reopened, yes, but anyway, we just continued and it's been lots of fun. But I love that here at the end, there's and I can't, it's amazing how you keep finding things. So thank you. They are fabulous. So here's my announcement. Talking about, or speaking of, things that are going to happen for the first time since March 2020, and the first time for many new residents. We are going to have a play readers play in the auditorium. It is the Velocity of Autumn. It has been closed down twice during rehearsals because of COVID. I'm hoping it's not a jinx and that we will do it this time. It's starring just 2 actors, the inimitable Ruth Bent and first-timer Ted Wallner. And we were into our 3rd rehearsal when we got shut down last time. And this is not a brag at all. It's just to tell you, each one of us was moved to tears at some point during that rehearsal. That's how into it these actors are. So I want to encourage you to come to the auditorium. It will be broadcast, but the cameras, there are only going to be 2 of them. They're in a fixed position. There will not be close-ups. So for the best experience, please come to the auditorium, and that will be next Friday and Saturday. A Friday matinee as always, and a Saturday night show, 19th and 20th. Thank you.
That's great.
The other microphone is dead, even though it says it's on, and the green light and all that, fully charged battery, what are you gonna do? But we also are going to have an in-person Cora annual meeting next Thursday at 4 p.m. The annual meeting is in the afternoon rather than the morning. And it will also be on Zoom, not KOTV, because we need a quorum. So please come in person. The doors to the lounge will be opened so that we can accommodate the mass crowd that's going to come. And we invite you all to come and be part of our annual meeting. And also I want to mention the staff holiday appeal, which is ongoing during the month of November. We welcome your shows of gratitude to our wonderful staff who has worked so hard, many extra hours, short-staffed. They picked up the whatever's needed and really helped keep our life as vibrant as it can be. We don't tip here at Country Club, so the 2 staff appeals that we have each year, one before the summer year, and one before the winter holiday, are our way of showing our appreciation. I did get a question about an also ongoing appeal from Kendall Oberlin. This is not a Cora. This is from Kendall Oberlin for the Residents Assistance Fund, for various other funds that Kendall Oberlin administers. So although you've gotten 2 letters recently, you're 2 separate appeals for 2 different purposes. The other appeal that just ended was to fund Cora activities for next year, and you were extremely generous for that, and I thank you very much. So there are 3 appeals each year from Cora. It's the staff holiday appeal going on now, and then there is the appeal from Kendall Oberlin.
I'm Sandy Stevens. I just wanted to add a request about the annual meeting. We have to have a quorum in order for the elections to be held. And in order to do that, we need to know how many people have come, both on Zoom and in the auditorium. So there will be card tables by the 2 doors to the auditorium and sign-up sheets. So please keep an eye out for them and sign up if you come. And if you don't see them, track me down and I'll make sure that your name gets on the list. Thank you.
I'm going to take a pause because I'm now reading comments in the chat. So it's going 2 ways. In some cases, they're hearing people fine. Larry, they didn't hear too much of what you said. I don't know if it was the microphone or you stepping away from the microphone, probably that. I'm going to ask our audience to wave if they're hearing me just fine now. Okay, the audience can hear me. How about the Zoom? Still working well? Okay. And I think we've had various questions in the chat. We'll keep an eye on those. I have not been looking at the chat. I have to agree. So we'll keep an eye out. Tony, you could chat with me if you want. I see you're on if you think I'm missing something, and I'll periodically look at it for that. Okay, other comments? And we always have a few planned. We'll get the microphone to you. We have one mic that works.
Step away. And come over here. Now, I may need you to hold this, because I'm talking with my hands. I have a suggestion that I think is going to benefit both the residents, some of them, and the administration. And this is with Dying Matters, good news. So that I hope you consider it. Now, we're all getting these great long receipts. Number one, you might want to invest $5 in some more ink because you can never read them. But that's not my real suggestion. We get these, and at the end of the billing cycle on the 18th or 19th, whenever it is, it has the amount that's turned back over that we haven't used. And in talking to people, many have money that's turned in. Maybe that will be reduced with these new rates coming in, but just the same, I mean, we're making a donation at the end of each month, and it's now recorded and easily verified. Why not? Why is this not considered a donation to Kendall? Why is it not tax deductible from our taxes? All we have to do is multiply 12 times whatever the numbers, add the 12 numbers down here. That should be very easy for the computer to do. And then we could have a nice little tax deduction on ours, and then you get money back. Okay.
So this is a question that has come up in the Continuing Care Forum, which is a national forum, actually resident driven, about other retirement communities posing that same possibility. And it's been by lawyers, it's been told it would not qualify. It comes back to the organization. It's not a charitable purpose. You are just not using your meal allowance. So they've explained in great detail, but it's a good question to have posed, and we'll put that in writing as to the thought and why it wouldn't qualify. But that has come up with other residents in other communities who have a declining balance. So creative thinking and reasonable question. We'll give back the detail why a tax expert would say that wouldn't qualify. But I like the thought, creative thinking. Okay. I really do think you will find with your meal and your whatever plan you've picked, if you have a full meal, you're going to be using all your dollars. Unless you are a person who generally eats sides. You know, maybe you do have a different style, and so you don't need as many meals, and it might go farther. But with our properly sizing our meal costs, I think you're going to find you're using your dollars as is appropriate. But give it a few months. You know, it's going to take some trial. Those prices will go up with the December 19th cycle. And I think you'll see it really is the way it should be. Other comments? All right, Nancy, you got the mic.
Yeah, I just want to kind of repeat what I think some of you have read both in WKAO slide and also in a memo that the update, I believe it was in. We're all cleaning up our yards. We're getting rid of yard waste. Be sure to put them in paper bags. People have been putting them in plastic bags, which makes sense. You have a 30-gallon bag, fill it up. Problem is, then it can't be composted. So please remember to put your yard waste in plastic bags and paper bags. Paper bags. And put them outside the trash room. Thank you.
Jerry?
Jerry Berger. Piece of information that I just received this past week having to do with recycling. Turns out that Republic which handles all of our pickup, our trash and recycling, no longer recycles glass. Therefore, I'm sending out a memo to all of the trash room monitors to cross out glass on all of the flyers that are on your walls that say glass. Unfortunately, and I say that unfortunately because I'm dismayed also, but I'm just following their policy. Unfortunately, glass now goes in trash. That's not our policy, it's theirs. And if they cannot use it for recycling purposes, then there's no point in our collecting it and sending it to them. I wish I had better information. I also have checked with the city of Oberlin and they concurred with that fact. They did say that Republic is still collecting glass, but not for recycling. I wish I had better information. Thank you.
So I'm gonna possibly call on Ray because we were given information. I think it was Pete and George Andrews' daughter wrote to say, we are giving information out to recycle things that are not being recycled. So we did a follow-up with Republic to verify. Ryan made that call, Ray. I don't know if you. I want to say numbers 2 and 3, Jerry, does that mean? No, doesn't mean something. So we really need their specifics. We'll get you a microphone again. But you know, a lot of what we intend to see recycled, if it's not properly cleaned, it gets dumped. A lot, if not the majority, I'm hearing of intended recycling cannot be used because it's not properly cleaned and it just gets dumped. So Jerry, what more do you have to add?
The other thing is, I did hear the fact that Republic was only collecting plastic, numbers 1 and 2 or something like that. That's not the memo we got back when Ryan inquired. The memo we got back from Republic indicated that all plastics are recyclable. So you don't have to look to see what number is there. That's from Republic, that they will recycle all plastics.
With a number.
Plastics with a number?
Plastics don't have a number.
Well, then you can put it in trash.
Right.
So I'm going to repeat what Jerry said, because what the audience is saying, it is still coming across muffled, even though it's very clear here. So Jerry is saying, audience on Zoom, all plastics are recyclable. If it doesn't have a number, consider it trash. But otherwise, Republic will recycle your plastics. If it doesn't have a number, trash it. All right, other comments?
Where do we put them?
Carol's asking, where do you put your recyclable? It's in your trash room as it is signed. You have signs in your containers. The blue bin. We'll have Ryan also verify our relationship with Republic to be sure we're all in sync. Recycling is important, isn't it? We have to do our part. All right, other comments? Okay, I do have some items that I had wanted to bring this morning. And Ray, if you have any comments you brought, I'm happy to have you also.
Get us on the landscaping.
Love that. Would love an update. We're gonna beat the snow, right?
All right, I'll step over here. Good morning, everyone. And it is wonderful to be able to stand up here and do this again.
Go over there where they can actually see you
Oh,
on
okay.
Zoom.
This way?
Yeah, now they can see you.
Great. So yes, in terms of beating the snow, yes, according to Ryan in our grounds department, we're thinking a week is what I was told yesterday. The work out front should be completed here within the next week. So they are moving forward. I know they're here now working, doing the final steps. So we are certainly planning on having that work being completed before the weather changes. One of the updates that I wanted to provide, we also have a landscape plan that has been discussed for parking lot 7 in the area behind parking lot 7. And we have held quite a few discussions with residents in that area and also residents from the different departments and committees that would be involved and would have a special interest. And quite a few renditions have been made based on recommendations from the group. I believe there is additional information that is coming next week that will allow us to have hopefully one last meeting that we can all come to a conclusion and also to some agreement that this is indeed the plan that we would like to see moving forward. But that particular plan will not actually take effect until 2022. That is a project that I believe will start next spring and throughout the summer. But one other area that I'd like to update you on would be on the solar array system. We did install a solar array panel system in parking lot number 7. That has been installed. It has been connected into the grid. We do have our inverter in place. We do have our metering in place. And the last step that we are working on now is to install a monitor here in our community center lobby area that would allow you to see in real time how that system is performing, to see in real time the amount of energy that we are saving, what we are putting back into the grid, and essentially what Kendall will be saving moving forward. So that for us is exciting. The other part that we wanted to mention is that we do have a lot of moving parts in facility services from transportation, grounds, and maintenance. And our hope and our plan is to begin in December to continue with our facility services newsletters. We have put a pause during the pandemic. Obviously, there was a lot of information being shared and going out, and we did not want to add more just to make sure that we kept things easy to digest. But in December, we will continue and resume our facility services newsletter. I will say that over the last year, I have had the pleasure of working with Grace. I know Grace, I'm not sure if Grace is here, Grace and Randy, and they have been fantastic. We meet weekly, we go over issues, concerns, and even things that perhaps are not issues and concerns, kind of brainstorming to make sure that they don't become issues and concerns down the road. So I want to thank them for always bringing great information back to us. Thank you.
The audience commented they could hear Ray pretty well, but all they could see was his back. Come in person if you can. Okay, other comments?
Okay, I'm going to bring a pretty serious topic. And that topic emerged a couple weeks ago when Leading Age happened in Atlanta. They had half of the normal participation, but that still was about 3,000 people. And I will say the sessions were held in very spacious rooms. The chairs had space between them. It was really well done. You could not get in that building without a mask. They had sanitation stations everywhere. So overall, they did a phenomenal job. And they also had outdoor opportunities. So you could take your lunch outside, which was delightful because it was beautiful sunny days. They had one event that happens every year at Leading Age. It's called the Inclusion Event. And it's to be welcoming to everyone, whatever differences we have in our large Leading Age family. We're talking, I'm sorry, Larry.
What is Leading Age?
Leading Age is our national association for homes and services of the aging. So it started out, I would say, as a trade association, probably in its earliest years, 75 years ago, maybe not quite that long, nursing homes. And gradually nursing homes became a continuum. And so today we have a Leading Age Ohio, which is our state affiliate, and we have our national affiliate in Washington. So the national event is always in the fall. It goes all over the country. Next year it will be in Denver. Anyway, it attracts typically 8 to 10,000 people when you count vendors, which I think vendors outnumbered the participants this year. They all came back, and not all of our normal members came back. But anyway, it was still well attended with 3,000, lots of outdoor events. The one outdoor event that's an annual is this inclusion event. It's an evening of fun, music, beverages, refreshments, fun. People just have an evening to relax. And it has been usually, I would say, the event of the week. That and a Ziegler event, which is also an evening affair. But anyway, this year's event, outdoors, lovely evening, mild temperatures. I didn't stay, but I think Stacy and I were there maybe an hour. And honestly, we're tired at the end of the day. You know, we got to go back to 2 hours of email. So we decided to go back a little earlier. In the meantime, we received a message from Marvell Adams. Some of you may know Marvell. He has been to Kendall. He's come to speak to our staff. He's the Chief Operating Officer. Some of you remember Judy Braun. Judy has been part of Kendall. She retired. And Marvell, who actually was the Executive Director of Collington, took over that role as COO. Marvell is an African American and somebody I have always considered a valued colleague, really a wonderful person. Bringing his experience from Collington into the corporate office was viewed as a win-win. You know, having that affiliate on the ground experience now, even better informing the corporate planning. Anyway, long story short, Marvell had a very unfortunate exchange with another member that was at that event. I won't go into the details, although it is out there, but it was racist. It was unnecessary. Who knows what the intent was behind it? I will share that many of these people are friends, and I would suggest that the same here in this situation. But bottom line, it was a racist comment, and Marvell left. He left the event earlier than he ever intended. He actually said, "It is not an event I look forward to." That I don't look forward to it because there's not much diversity. It's not what it's intended to be. Leading age is not attracting at this meeting diversity, and that bothers him. So he's had trouble coming to this event yearly, but he came at the encouragement of another colleague. And then this exchange took place, and he said to himself, he actually asked the person to repeat what they said. They did not. And he thought to himself, does he just let it go? And he decided he could not. And he asked again, and the person repeated it. Well, I will just say it obviously terribly, terribly upset him. He left that event. He chose not to participate in a panel the next morning on diversity and inclusion. He was one of 4 presenters, so he obviously was not there. He was not on the stage when the board of directors, of which he is one, took their oath for the year. You could tell he would not have missed either of these events if he did not feel he had to leave Leading Age that evening. So he made it very public. He put something on LinkedIn explaining the situation that occurred. You can, as social media does, that got around. I got a personal email, and I was like, Marvell, don't leave. But he had already been on a plane bright and early. I was going to the session, and he was not among the panel. So it was unsettling right from the start. I will say the panel presentation was excellent. Actually, every session between Sunday and Wednesday when it ended, there was a diversity, equity, and inclusion opportunity. Some session dedicated to this topic. Leading Age has made this front and center. So to see Marvell not there and to have this be so public it's really heartbreaking. It's painful to realize our association could have this happen. In the meantime, I'm bringing this to you because there has been a public statement by the Kendall Corporation. I missed it. I had been waiting for it. I had been told it was coming. And although I was communicating with Laura Jones, who works for Kendall Corp, It was about other things related to leading age, and I totally missed the statement that went out. So I'd like to read it to you. It will be put out next week in our news update. It does have a link that takes you to Marvell's own words. So I am being completely upfront with you because many will be aware of this, and you should be aware of it as part of our community. So I'm going to read you the statement.
And I hope, is the audience, raise your hand if you can at least hear me well. Tony can and a few others. Okay. It's time for change. It's time for change. A phrase often overused and under-realized. Earlier this week, the Kendall Corporation's Chief Operating Officer, our friend and colleague, Marvell Adams, bravely shared a story about a confrontation he faced on Monday during the Leading Age annual meeting, in which he felt he was deeply disrespected by another event participant because of the color of his skin. Marvell, we are incredibly proud of your strength in telling your story. The word story is the link. You'll be able to connect that. And we stand with you. No one should ever experience an encounter like the one Marvell described, and yet we know it is regrettably just one example of the challenges Black, Indigenous, and people of color and other minority groups face, whether in the form of microaggressions or more blatant acts of racism. The anger, the sadness, and the exhaustion is real, and we cannot dismiss or isolate these experiences. Clearly, as a field, I'm changing the word industry. I heard at Leading Age, please don't call us an industry. We're a field. As a field, we have a long way to go to achieve the diversity, equity, and inclusion commitments we make to ourselves and those we serve. That work must continue in our homes and in our hearts too. At Kendall, our Quaker roots and our associated values and practices guide us to work toward the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion in our communities. Most importantly, perhaps, is seeing the light in every individual and ensuring they are respected, heard, and valued. Yet, we have much work to enact real change in our own house. If we don't start today, when will we? If we don't continue to press forward with vigor, why should we expect anyone else to do so? Together, we must take a stand for a better way. How will you join us? That's spam. It says that, spam. Today, we also commit to our own values of equity, diversity, and holding up the light in every person, and to enact ways that better address the many obstacles, both clear and subtle, standing in the way of DEI. How will you join us? At the same time, we recognize the difficulty others face when presented with and reflecting on all too familiar moments like this. And we support individuals inside and outside of our extended family in sharing their experience and their stories. We appreciate and continue to commit to our colleague that we will strive for a better tomorrow. End of statement. It is important we stand together. Any one of us. Could you just tell whoever this insistent person is, I promise to call you back. Doesn't have a caller ID. I assumed it was Sam. It is so important that we probably have such incidents right here at Kendall. It pains me to think that, but we have a diverse community, large community at Kendall. Not great amounts of diversity, and I think we would always welcome more,
But I do think we have to start at home, right? This did happen within our larger leading age family, you know, thousands of people. But it's acknowledged, it's probably happening right around us. And unless we commit to change, we will never have that better way to grow old together. Knowing our experience, that experience could be your experience. And I have to believe, and I know this from people that I know at leading age, and maybe more about this episode. All of us make blunders. All of us say things that we thought, why did I just say that? That was insensitive. We're human beings. But until we can be vulnerable and express, I don't always know how to say something or the right thing to say, we can't get better. So I wanted to bring that to you because it's a week old. I totally missed it. It actually got put out there, an email, just a couple hundred every day. But we'll make this public because this needs to continue the conversation about how we can contribute to that change. And now I'm happy to open it up. As I said, this otherwise probably would have come through in a news update last week, but this week actually, but I'm glad it's a group of people with us, even if you're on Zoom, because it's an important topic and it's so much easier to look you in the face and say, what do we want Kendall to be? What do we want our world to be? Let's start changing it where we can. Larry, we'll get you a mic.
I'll talk into it.
Okay, you keep that close.
Thank you, Barbara, very much for that. That's important. Words are important, but actions are really more important. And as I look around this community, I see that we're not particularly diverse. I wanted to ask you whether Kendall Overwood has a plan to deal with that, and what is that plan, and what are the prospects? How can I be helpful?
I'm delighted to have that question. First of all, we're in the midst of a strategic plan. And there are many goals that have been identified that are now being fleshed out. One of them is diversity, equity, and inclusion. There is a small work group. And I'm looking around, is anybody here this morning that's serving on that? Elizabeth Cole might be on Zoom. Donna Basnick. We have some staff, some of the dining staff, some of the facility services staff. Monica over in facility services is another one, for example. Concolleen is serving. So we have a good group of heads on this right now, Larry. And I'm going to say we've always had the topic of diversity in our plan, and we pulled those out. And there's been some progress. We've had a staff and resident committee. It's called different things, but I think its current name is diversity. Tony, if I got that right? Simple diversity. We've had different names, but I think the words today, it's a diversity committee. It was meeting about every other month. I think we're all in agreement it needs to be refreshed, particularly with this plan that will get underway. We need everyone's interest in this. And some of the activities that have come out of this committee's work are such things as programs, educational programs in the auditorium, films that then start at the dinner table with conversations about what you've seen. So there's been a number of activities, certain months dedicated to a topic of learning about African Americans, for example. I think it's February. So events through the year that have tried to heighten awareness to be sure we are welcoming of everyone. But the questions now that are coming up, where are we marketing? Are we marketing? And I think marketing is a part of that committee as well. Elizabeth Chrisman is on that committee, and we're looking at what else can we do in that direction. So there's lots of different angles that this now plan, this one goal, will elaborate on, and you'll have a chance to see that plan before it's approved. One of many goals, but it is an important goal. Where's he at?
There's always good stuff that comes out of leading age every year. And I'm glad to have some report already from this year's meeting age, so soon after it. I regret that what we're hearing is extremely painful. I think it's the most painful thing I've ever heard out of leading age and out of Kendall. I don't know what to do but to enforce it. I'm very glad that it came to us on this kind of an occasion where we could be in person and hear it and experience it together. It's way more powerful than a communique in writing.
Right.
And my hope is that this particular, I've been sitting here thinking, what if the Kendall's contingent entirely had heard about this and immediately done the same thing as Marvell did, walked out of leading age. And I thought, well, there would be so much that would have been lost by not participating in those 2 days that remained. And I can experience, and I'm just thinking about it, the tough decision that would have been. So I trust and know that the Kendall contingent that was there will be taking this experience and the rest of that meeting into all of the different aspects of our lives together. And I'm grateful that at least you and Stacy got to be there in person.
I'll also share that the executive directors remotely had a half-day retreat yesterday. And this was one of our topics, to talk as communities where things are. And they're all over the board in terms of active, I would say, engagement to address racism. And creating training residents and staff to help us be better, to help us be better communities. There's a lot more to that plan, Larry. I will tell you, for example, in our last plan, which is still through this year, there was an intent to be certified by SAGE. SAGE is a training for LGBTQ. I have all those letters right. So staff have the full benefit, particularly in caregiving, to be sure our communities are giving the care that can be most comfortable for people who may otherwise fear the day they may need help from others. So today there are many, many resources available to us that we did not have even in our last 5-year plan. I've shared with a number of audiences, including our small work group. There's a series of 7 articles that were done by Nancy King. Nancy King is somebody who helped establish senior independence when it was home and community-based services. She was part of Ohio Living. In those days, it was called Senior Independence, the structure of home and community-based services. So she began in an organization like Kendall, Retirement Communities, that recognized the need for outreach services to serve people in their homes. Not only home care, but hospice as well. They are one of the largest organizations today, but Nancy has left Ohio Living and started Senior Options, and she did a series of 7 articles on diversity, inclusion, equity. I think it's the best stuff I've come across. People she interviewed, the links she offered, the training resources that came through those 7 articles, that kind of content is what I've been looking for that would assist us as a community. So much more to come, but it will depend on our workforce and our residents coming together to do these things that are possible because we want them to happen. One of many goals. Kendall has an array of things that will help us be successful. So yeah, difficult topic, and our audience that's on Zoom, you'll have a chance, if some of this has not come through, hopefully more in-person conversation to keep advancing our work in this area. We're glad you're here. There's about 30 of you here. So I think that's pretty good, right? That they gave us a trial, and some of them may not be comfortable yet to come together in person. And Francis.
I'm very grateful that you passed that information on to us, Barbara. It is very weighty. One of my questions is if somebody is experiencing what they consider disrespectful or racist remarks or other kinds of oppressive remarks. I mean, I know that there has been some conversation in the last few months about some microaggressions and some disrespectful things that have happened. But my concern is, where would you go with that? We all have opinions, and I think that we need a place to maybe process this. I know we have suggestions and concerns, but I know that that group is not probably trained to handle some of those situations. So in the meantime, as we learn as a community about equity, inclusion, diversity, and how we move forward, what would happen in our community if something such as this happened to one of our members or to somebody that came in to visit us?
And I really believe it probably should and can go in a number of directions. There will be a committee that I think will probably be strengthened with this new goal. There's always administration, always. I don't want you ever to hesitate. It may be that we put our heads with someone else. Mary, how many times have I called on you this year? All the time. We're talking by email or by phone. And I love what Mary often does in response. Let me give that some thought. And then we come back together and there's a plan. So I really believe you need to go to who you trust, or that person who has the circumstance. They need to go to who they can trust, and it will get to the right source, recognizing two heads are better than one. Yeah, we have definitely sought to create, and this term is being maybe overused, safe spaces. With a community of 350 residents and over 200 staff, we have to have safe spaces. Not everyone will relate to who's in charge. And so just know we're comfortable with that. And we will do our best to make sure that person feels, number one, confidentiality, if it's of that nature, and two, that they will be heard. Not always a right answer to start, but the sense of I'm confident I can take it someplace at Kendall and be safe. Brave, that's the other word, safe and brave. You need to be brave, and that can be embarrassing at times, difficult, but being vulnerable is part of the solution. If we aren't vulnerable, I don't think we can work at these problems effectively. Other comments? And it can be another topic too. Yeah, where are we with time? 10:29. We started at 9:30, about an hour. So I'm going to give you a couple things to wrap up, and if you have them lingering questions, you can. I brought two things that I thought caught my attention.
Now that we're in that holiday time,
We still have, as a result of a fraudulent situation, gift cards that are for Saks or Nordstrom's, Tony. Nordstrom's, $200. I think we have 5 of them. If there is anyone who wishes perhaps to have one of those for some special gift for someone else or yourself, they have been reimbursed. And this was a situation that was very, very difficult. It was done in all honesty, thinking someone had requested this credible request. It's fraud. That's what's happening. So I'm still looking for a solution if we can work this out rather than have someone be out $1,000. So just know that. Second, I happen to read this. How often have you been going to order something from Amazon and you didn't make the amount to get free shipping? And so you added an item. Anybody been in that situation? I have. Well, here's a suggestion. Instead of ordering another item you don't need, get a gift card to that organization for a future need. And you then have that for your next purchase that you really need rather than something you don't need. So a gift card to to the same organization will get you over to the free shipping. It's a clever idea at the holiday time. So many of you are writing your legislators, right? And you probably know exactly where those addresses are. But sometimes you need more local addresses too. And it's great. Facebook is still being called Facebook. I hear they're changing their name. But Facebook now will take you right to your leaders based on you putting in your zip code or your city. It'll give you an immediate listing of all the appropriate people you may want to visit, write a letter to, or contact. This is local to national. So no, I'm going to see if you verify what it is. It's facebook.com/town hall. Town hall, that's the word you want to remember. Try it. You'll have to put in your city or your zip and see how it works. I'm curious. I just thought that was a great suggestion. Last suggestion. How many of you use brown rice at home as a preference? Quite a few of you. How many of you kind of don't like how long it takes to cook brown rice? It's longer, right? So they suggest the night before or the early afternoon, take the amount of rice, double it with water, 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water, stick it in your fridge, cook it when you're ready. It'll take half the time. Just a little hint, keeping eating brown rice. Short amount of time. Okay, anything you want to close with? Any other little closing comment? Well, listen, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having
We'll be here next month. We may be missing people that are quarantined or temporarily laying low, but we'll be here. Come when you can. Thanks so much.
We are compostable.
We are compostable this morning. Yes, you are. Thank you, Zoom audience.
Someone needs new batteries. Okay, and you know, we could have got them. I thought she said it had new batteries and it still didn't work. Yeah. So we'll find out. We'll test that right now.